What is going on, my Masketeers? It is I, the Masked One, and we are back again to talk about Disney Plus's new show, Obi-Wan. Yes, another entry in the Star Wars franchise. And with this show, we basically get to find out what happened between the events of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. With the show, we follow Obi-Wan Kenobi as he now is living a recluse life in Tatooine after the events of Order 66. The show takes place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. Right now, Obi-Wan is essentially Ben, and he is living a sad, sad life, as you would expect for somebody who lost everything, especially the fact all the Jedi were essentially decimated. He looks after, or he oversees Luke from a distance, making sure that Luke is safe, and should the boy show any signs of being Force sensitive, he will train him in the ways of the Force. That's what this show is about. From episode 1, the show was really good. Me being a massive Star Wars fan, again, with what happened with the last batch, from Force Awakens to The Last Jedi to Skywalker, I was definitely no longer feeling Star Wars. I thought that Disney had mishandled that property so bad. No matter what you can say about the prequels, George Lucas had a vision, and when you rewatch them, you can see what he was trying to do. The execution wasn't perfect, but you can kind of get it when you look back on it. Anyways, episode 1, should I say. Episode 1, to me, I thought set the tone for the entire franchise. A broken Obi-Wan, someone who's dealing with the fallout of what's happened, which is understandable. The actions, and with Anakin turning to the dark side, Obi-Wan feels like he's failed. And due to that, most of the Jedi have been wiped out. So again, the fact that Obi-Wan isn't 100% confident in his abilities, and he's kind of cut himself off from the Force, and he's kind of trying to discover or rediscover himself. I like that it was a darker take and it made more sense. So episode 1 really drew me into the Star Wars journey, especially with Obi-Wan, and it made me think, you know what? I like where this is going. We can definitely get behind this. And that's something which I will say. The acting in episode 1, amazing, as well as the location and the visuals of the show. I like the dynamic between Owen and Obi-Wan, the fact that there's some animosity between them, and it kind of shows, or it lays the seeds of what we saw in the original trilogy, while Owen never liked Obi-Wan. So I like that aspect. And like I said, visually, it looked amazing. The acting, top notch. There was, this is one thing I will say, and this will lead into the bad. Some people, one person in particular, and again, it's not the actor's fault, it's what they gave her to work with, which is Fifth Sister, aka Reva. I didn't really like her acting. Her acting to me was a bit over the top. There's too much rage, but it's not done in a way where it is, I would say, compelling. It just comes across as arrogance, but I know that's not what they were going for. She's meant to be intimidating, driven, focused, but the way they've written her character, not so much. So again, it's not the actor's fault. It's just how she's been portrayed. Let's now go into my negatives. And I cannot lie to you, a lot of negatives. If episode 1 was good, episode 2 is where it just starts to slowly decline. And the reason being is because the story behind it, how they motivate Obi-Wan and how they move the story along, to me, didn't make a lot of sense. And it kind of goes against the continuity, what the original trilogy set up. In this one, right, Leia is introduced, she's 10, and might I add, the actress that plays Leia, spot on. Such a young character, she's able to display that she's wise beyond her years, which I have to commend her for. But the story, not so much. The reason being is because somehow they decide to kidnap Leia. And the only reason why they kidnap Leia is because they discover through records that Obi-Wan and Leia's father had a connection from the Clone Wars. And so they surmise that if we kidnap Leia, then that will basically drive Obi-Wan out of hiding and he will come to rescue her. How do they know this information? We don't know, because I believe a lot of the information prior to the Clone Wars, they kind of scrubbed that out. The reason being is because it helped Palpatine to create the lie and the propaganda that the Jedi turned against the Senate. And that's the reason why they had to be purged. So a lot of records from before were literally destroyed, limited information. But for some reason, Reva is able to know this, and then she decides to kidnap Leia. Now, when all of this happens, even the kidnapping itself was dog shit. If you watch it, it is terrible, because when you see how these quote-unquote bounty hunters are chasing Leia around, it just looks so ridiculous and so stupid. Again, she's a 10-year-old, so she can't run that fast. So these bounty hunters, you can clearly see they are jogging and they still can't catch her. So that entire scene was just absolutely dumb. Now let's move on to when Obi-Wan finally decides, yeah, he's going to go help Leia. It's a kill on sight order for a Jedi. Obi-Wan just puts his lightsaber on his hip. He doesn't even try to hide it when he goes to board a transport. And I'm just thinking to myself, come on, just come on, Obi-Wan. Hide it better. But anyway, he goes to the planet which is looking like fucking Blade Runner, which I did like, but that was the only good part. Again, everything else, downhill, downhill. There's a character in episode 2 who's meant to be pretending to be a Jedi so that he can con people into getting money, and he helps them escape. Again, why you'd pretend to be a Jedi in today's climate when to be a Jedi is an automatic death sentence, God knows, but he's just there for the comic relief. And again, it is stupid. And that's where Obi-Wan's character to me starts to go just down the toilet. All aspects of Obi-Wan are missing in this. He doesn't use intelligence as much. He doesn't use his wit. He literally just goes around like a bumbling idiot at times, which again, didn't like. By the end of episode 2, a massive reveal. Somehow, Reva tells Obi-Wan that Anakin is alive. Not that Vader is alive, but Anakin. She knows that Anakin and Darth Vader are one and the same. Again, that makes no sense, because no one knew who Anakin was. There's like a select amount of people that know that Anakin is Darth Vader. Probably like 5. You have Grand Admiral Tarkin, you have Sidious himself, you have Yoda, Obi-Wan, Luke Skywalker. Those are like the 5 people that know who Anakin is, or who know who Darth Vader is. Everybody else, no. And anyone that found out, Vader killed them because he literally wants no connection to Anakin because he believes Anakin is weak. For whatever reason, somehow this Inquisitor knows that Anakin and Darth Vader are the same person. It doesn't make any sense, but it is what it is. And now, this is what brings me to my biggest issue with this show. Vader himself. Vader is absolutely weak. In every form, Vader lacks in this show. If you remember Rogue One, when Vader turned up for less than 5 minutes and stole the whole movie, do you remember that Vader? If you're looking for that Vader, he is not here in this show. This Vader is a cross player. Hayden Christensen does not have the build. He does not have the presence. He doesn't have the gravitas to pull off Vader. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. The only thing that's Vader is his voice, which again, is the original, the legend himself, James L. Jones. But apart from that, Vader is weak as shit. Weak as shit. Even the confrontation between Vader and Obi-Wan, abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. It was so weak. It lacked emotion. There was no impact. I literally watched it thinking to myself, what the hell is this? How have you been able to destroy Vader when you had the perfect blueprint from Rogue One? And then when he has Obi-Wan, dead to rights, by the way, dead to rights, for some weird reason, Vader forgets he has the Force, because the way Obi-Wan escaped is so dumb. Yes, he wants to make him suffer. He drags him through the fire, and by the way, his robes do not burn, which is weird, but whatever. They don't burn. Obi-Wan is saved by a droid. All Vader had to do was literally use the Force to stop the droid, rip that droid apart, lift Obi-Wan and bring him. But no, Vader just looks on as he watches Obi-Wan escape. And again, it's just dumb as hell. This show should not exist. Not at all. It was a cash grab, 100%. I thought before, because Hayden Christensen came back to play Vader, I thought maybe he read the script and felt that this story had to be told, that there were elements of Vader which we needed to see, and he wanted to be the one to give it to us. And I felt he's coming back as Vader because he sees there is so much that they're going to do in this show which didn't get portrayed in the prequels. Nope, I was wrong. He came for the bag. The mouse offered him the bag and he took it 100%. They came for the bag. The mouse, the overlord, writ them a check they could not deny, and that's why they're here. This show shouldn't exist. It's a 2 out of 10 for me. Dog shit, 100%. My love for Star Wars has slowly been killed. Mandalorian is the only thing that's kept me alive, and even that, I don't know how long they can keep that going for. So, 2 out of 10 is my final verdict. Please give me your thoughts and your opinions in the comments below, and let me know if you're watching the show and how you feel about it. And that's all I have time for. Peace.